Hello and welcome back to Jazzonomics. In today's episode, I'm going to look at 4/5 albums that I consider overrated, underrated, neglected, or nowhere near as good as you remember them. Firstly, I'm going to look at a neglected album, one that isn't neglected by the critics. They rank it and rate it pretty highly. It's one that was neglected by me. I bought it as part of a fairly large job lot of 50 CDs. On first listen, I was slightly underwhelmed, but I decided to break it out again yesterday and listen to it again in preparation for this video because I was going to put it in the slightly disappointing category. It doesn't fall into that category at all. It is well worthy of your time. It was released on the Blue Note label in 1962. It features the jazz guitarist Grant Green, and it is Feelin the Spirit. The album features Herbie Hancock on piano and Billy Higgins on drums, amongst others. It's a selection of spirituals and gospel songs. The album features an awful lot of slow blues. Herbie Hancock features prominently, and on one track there's more than a nod to Cantaloupe Island. It's definitely a grower. There are elements of funky up-tempo playing here. As I've said before, there's an awful lot of slow blues on here. Well worthy of your time, much better than I remember. A very, very good album. The album that falls into the underappreciated or underrated section is an album by the jazz pianist Bill Evans. An awful lot of critics will cite Portrait in Jazz, A Waltz for Debbie, or Sunday at the Village Vanguard as his greatest works, but there's something about Bill Evans playing in the trio setting that doesn't really capture my imagination. That's more down to my personal taste rather than his lack of proficiency on the keyboards, because he is without doubt a supremely talented musician. But I think it's the fact that his playing seems to be rooted in European classical music rather than someone like McCoy Tyner, who has more R&B and soulful influences. This album by Bill Evans takes him out of his normal trio setting and into an expanded group that features Freddie Hubbard on trumpet and Jim Hall on guitar. And if I can just read the front of this album, this sort of explains what it is. For the first time, the great jazz pianist is heard in a new context as leader of a group larger than his customary trio. Evans interplay with his four colleagues here, each of them one of Bill's personal favourites on his instrument, creates a most unusual and remarkable album. It was recorded in 1962 on the Riverside album, I believe, and it is Interplay by Bill Evans. There's one ballad on this album, When You Wish Upon a Star. The rest are up-tempo, hard bop, superb swinging sessions. Without doubt, my favourite Bill Evans album. And if Bill Evans' normal work is not your chosen area of jazz, I suggest you try this. It's marvellous. As is Bill Evans' The Interplay session. Some additional tracks on here, additional players. This one also features Zoot Sims on saxophone, both recorded in 1962. Great, great albums. My overrated albums choice is one that it's not a jazz album, it's a rock album, it's a folk rock album. It's one that was released in probably around about 1966, I think, and it is looked upon as this artist's, or one of this artist's greatest works. And I think if two tracks were removed from this album, it may well be right up there with his greatest work. In fact, it is. I'm being slightly arch and argumentative and tricky about this album, and it is an album by Bob Dylan, and it is Blonde on Blonde, which is without doubt a magisterial piece of work, but there are two tracks on here that really do irritate me quite a lot. Just Like a Woman, and I can't remember what it is, the other one is. Just Like a Woman and I Want You. Two tracks that I really do not like at all. You've got Stuck Inside of Mobile with the Memphis Blues again, Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands, Visions of Joanna, a marvellous, marvellous work. But those two tracks leave me cold, and it takes me back to probably one of my first exposures to Bob Dylan was watching the great 1977 Woody Allen film, where I think the character's name is either Alvy Singer or Albie Singer, and he is discussing Bob Dylan with his girlfriend at the time, or rather his girlfriend is discussing Bob Dylan with him, and she asks him, "Did you see the Bob Dylan concert the other night?" And he said, "No, I couldn't attend. My pet raccoon had a hepatitis," which strikes me as a very, very funny line. The girlfriend also goes on to mention the fact that she was at Altamont when one of the audience members died following stabbing and violence. And Woody Allen says, "Well, I was at Alice Cooper not too long ago, and 6 people were hospitalised due to bad vibes." Now, if I'd have delivered that more confidently, you'd have probably found it a whole lot more funny. But the line about the hepatitis-riddled raccoon, very, very funny. Great film. Woody Allen, Diane Keaton. I'm not much of a film watcher, but Annie Hall, a film well worthy of your time. And to finish on an album that is nowhere near as good as You Remember, I'm going to go back to 1995 and this particular album. Black Grape. It's great when you're straight, yeah. I love this album at the time. Opens with the Reverend Black Grape. It has not aged well at all. I listened to it probably about quite a few years ago now, and I thought, well, this out of many of those albums from the mid-90s that you loved at the time, this has not aged well at all. And briefly, going back to Bob Dylan, I'm not sure whether you can see these two albums in the background here. Bob Dylan, The Basement Tapes, and Underground by Thelonious Monk, both on the Columbia label. Very, very similar covers. Something that's interested me for quite some time. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. This was Jazzonomics.